Hi, I'm Alan Douglas. Welcome to my studio. This painting is called the Black-Eyed Steamback. And what I want to show you in this painting is how to capture the reflective, shiny surface of his black eyeball. Let's get started. So this is the Black-Eyed Steamback, and I'm going to try to show you how to capture some of the reflective qualities of a shiny surface. So I'm going to go, this is clearly going to be the darkest value in the painting. Probably will not ultimately get that dark, but again, when I put down paint, I never think it's going to be the absolute final layer. I'm always making adjustments as we go. The important thing to get something to look reflective is to bring some of the environmental colors in, as well as keep it very high contrast. So you got to think in terms of, okay, this is a sphere. Now, what kind of colors are going to reflect up into the bottom of the sphere? And I'm thinking maybe some of these browns from the bark. What would reflect on the top side of the sphere? I'm thinking it'll be a lighter bluer color. Maybe I could play off a little bit of this yellow. Let's see how that looks. So you can see I let things happen during the painting. I don't like things set in stone. Now this is acrylic, so I do have to work fairly quickly to get some smoother blends. I may switch to oils eventually, which will help me with that. I'm not quite sure yet. Now I am looking at reference of a shiny ball, but you can see that it was photographed indoors. If you look closely, you can see some of the lights of the room it was photographed in. Obviously this creature is outside, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some vertical shapes within that sphere, and those are going to represent maybe tree trunks. I also want to curve them slightly to play off of the fact that they're reflected onto a sphere. So I mentioned high contrast. So between the reflected light of the browns from below and the reflections of the trees in the eye, I want to get substantially darker, which might help to give it that reflective look. So you can see I'm trying to set up the parameters around the eye as well. Brighten up what ultimately will be representative of this reflection of the sky in the upper portion of this spherical black eye. Pick up some of my surrounding color to just soften those edges a bit. Another thing you can remember is as those silhouettes of the trees cross into the very light part of the reflection, they should get warmer and lighter. I also want to allude to those yellows and orangey tones in the background. Even though this wouldn't realistically reflect what's back there, I think adding a little touch of it within the eye is justified. If not justified, it may just look good. And that's the ultimate goal of a painting, is to just have it ring true, even if it's not true to the actual real world in which we live. So what I'm noticing is the bottom reflection could use a little lightening up. And one of the most important aspects of getting it to look shiny, and this applies to shiny things like eyes that are wet, also things like wet skin and that sort of thing, is if you look at my reference here, you can see the specular highlight of whatever that light source is. And you can almost take white straight out of the tube pretty much, or close to it, and add some specular highlights. Really bright as opposed to the rest of the eye. And that's the high contrast I was talking about. So the darks get pretty dark, the lights get pretty light. Add in a couple kind of secondary specular highlights here and there if you want. You know, maybe the bottom eyelid is actually quite wet, so you can not create just a straight line, but maybe just dab in some texture. So this would essentially is sort of like the upper eyelid, would actually be more in shadow because it's under this brow. So I'm going to use a very similar yellowish greenish color that I just used down here, but I'm actually going to darken it slightly because it would be in shadow under that brow. And glazing is a very big part of my process, and I might just kind of glaze that all dark later on. And the area I'm talking about is kind of underneath the brow here. So I will probably make a few adjustments to this along the way, but that's the basic concept. High contrast, specular highlights, think about the reflectivity of the surrounding colors, that sort of thing. Thank you for watching.